You're listening to the ADHD Heroes Podcast, a podcast where we speak with the heroes of the ADHD community, namely educators, mental health professionals, and of course, those with ADHD themselves, to gain insights, tools, and most importantly, inspiration towards succeeding and thriving with ADHD. I'm your host, Rabbi Shmuel Reich, a high school Rebbe and an ADHD coach in private practice. Welcome to the show. Hi there. On this week's episode, I spoke with an anonymous guest using the pseudonym Daniel Block, telling his ADHD story. We discussed his academic struggles, switching out of the honors class in middle school, despite the challenge of coming from a family of high achievers, difficult negative thoughts, switching to a school that suited him better, the value that sports had for him, navigating post-high school yeshiva and college, getting his early career started in a way that suited his brain, strategies he used to sit through long classes in graduate school, such as note-taking and short-term goals, how he transferred from doing sports in yeshiva to studying to become a rabbi and teaching in yeshiva, how he managed his rabbinic ordination course, how reading from the Torah on Shabbos captures his attention well, how his experience informs his own teaching, and a lot more. It is worth noting that he did this interview while walking around the entire time. Now, before we begin, I want to tell you about a podcast I listen to called the Chinuch Today podcast. Host Rabbi Yerachmiel Garfield interviews innovators in the world of education who are already implementing new and interesting ideas, such as an anti-bullying organization, a center to see God in nature, a chess program, and a lot more. So whether you are a principal looking for exciting new programs, a teacher or Rebbe looking to implement something creative on a smaller scale, or a caring parent wondering what is coming down the pipeline, this podcast may be for you. Also, check out Rabbi Garfield's new book, When They Were Young, where he tells the stories of how rabbinic giants grew from being kids to becoming the greats that they became. And now, on to the regular episode. Enjoy! Rabbi Daniel Block, welcome to the ADHD Heroes Podcast. I'm excited for our conversation today.
So am I. Very excited to be here.
Okay, great. A little bit about yourself and your background.
Okay. I grew up in a modern Orthodox community in the Northeast. My family was very involved in the synagogue, and I had two older sisters. I'm the youngest of three. I'm like a Ben Zakunim situation, so some joke I have like four parents. And I went to a pretty prestigious school, modern Orthodox school. And I'd say like, you want to know when things started recognizing something. I started recognizing something in second grade where we were doing this reading project, and I was looking around and everyone else, and the teacher's reading, right? And I'm looking around and everyone else knows what's flying, and I have no idea what's flying. Like what's going on here? Why am I not understanding what's happening? And everyone else around me is understanding like so easily. Okay, that was one thing, but that was more like a blip. And I didn't think about it much. Then and I was always in honors classes, and I guess I was able to sit through them. In sixth grade, I had I'd say a major shift. And now looking back, it's total executive functioning. Instead of managing two teachers, you're managing, six. And the school I went to wasn't like Rebbe in the morning and English in the afternoon. It was, Gemara is a 40-minute class, and Chumash is a 40-minute class, and Navi's 40-minute class, and English is, and Ivrit. And I'll never forget it. I was falling behind in classwork because I just couldn't manage everything.
Right.
And I'll never forget this teacher who ended up becoming a coworker of mine. She had this thing, and people might recognize the school if I say this, but she had this way. She's an intense Ivrit teacher, and if you didn't do your homework, or you were talking in class, you had to write a note that said, "Dear Mommy." Terrifying. "Dear Mommy, I didn't do my homework," so and you have to have her sign it. I can't express to you the fear that a 12-year-old has of bringing that note home. I couldn't deal. I was terrified. I faked the signature. What would a 12-year-old do? Fake the signature, which was And then they came back the next day. They noticed I faked the signature, got to the principal. I had made up a whole story. It was just like on and on and on. Things really, really got derailed a little bit in that grade. And eventually, and I'm not sure this was best, but this is what we did. I was switched out of that class and I was on the lower track in Hebrew. And that was like going into a new world. Like I was used to like honors class. We're sitting straight. We're not, messing around. Then I was walking to like, whoa, a little bit more of a party,
ADHD friendly?
Yeah, I not for learning necessarily,
Okay.
but for getting by and not being overwhelmed. And overwhelm just leads to anxiety, and anxiety, ends up being other things, and like in sixth grade, I don't want to clinically, like I was pretty like depressed, and overwhelmed. And my family was like high achievers. My parents are both educated. My mother was in the board of ed. My father was in management. My sisters always did well in school. Like there was an achievement environment, that, so to come home with a dear mommy, people still talk about it to this day. Okay. Seventh grade was better. I was involved in so many different things, which like for someone with my head, the more, the better. Right. I was in the school play. It was my bar mitzvah. I was on 2 basketball teams. I'll never forget and I did well enough in school. And it was a good year. I do remember
the honors class again? You're still with...
No. They kept me in that party thing.
Right. Is that healthy for you ultimately?
That's a really good question. I think I wished we'd figure it out. So in English, I stayed in honors, but in the Hebrew situation, I think I stayed, lower. And I think it developed in me the thought like, oh, you can always just leave, switch to a more comfortable situation. I think there's that message, which, it's probably a better learning lesson to bear down and like, okay, let's see how we can make this work. I did see in 6th grade, because like I was having depression things and I let my parents know about it. I didn't really see a psychologist, so to speak. I was seeing these like learning specialists. We were doing like, I'm not sure exactly what it was. I'm not sure it's exactly what I needed. Like I was having like some pretty severe thoughts for a 12-year-old. I don't want to get too detailed, but but it was intense. And the people I was seeing was much more like we were discussing vocabulary and phrases that people use in general context. I don't know. I don't think one had to do with the other, but I think my parents weren't sure what to do.
Right. What years are we talking?
This is in 6th, 7th grade. 6th, 7th grade.
Okay.
Mostly 6th. I was going through this thing.
What years?
I faked. Back then, the movie Ferris Bueller was very popular. It's like it's showing my age. So like I faked a leg injury. I was on crutches, like just not to go to school. It's pretty messed up. Yeah, that was intense. And like, yeah, I was just like, so I don't know why I came up with it. I'm like, I'm going to fake a leg injury. Like I can't walk on my left leg. And then one night, 4 nights later, there was like basketball thing happening. I'm like, called my parents. I'm like, I'm feeling better. Can I play ball tonight? I think they kind of knew like something was up. And, there was also, what also changed the face of the course. So I got through, we made it through. I don't know how, but we made it through. The school I went to had a sister, like a high school that is, connected to the elementary school.
Right.
And both my family went there. Like it wasn't a question, you go there. But I didn't do well on the Jewish boards. Now they call it the JSATs. Back then it was the BJEs. So I wasn't accepted into that school after 8th, and I went to an all boys school, and it was really it was a success.
Interesting. What worked about it?
I think what worked is like, I guess it was like similar to that Hebrew environment, to the switch down a little bit, but also I think I was able to not being in a co-ed situation. Baruch Hashem, I had a healthy uh, adolescence. So like not having girls around all the time was actually good for me. You didn't care about what you liked. In the school I went to, like you took your Stillen off, you brushed your hair because now you had Stillen hair. Like you can't go around like that. You're trying to look good. In this school, like you're lucky if you're wearing a shirt,
Right. One less pressure.
Exactly. Yeah. And I guess the kids ended up being a good shidduch. And I don't remember having difficulty sitting, especially like if it was a good teacher.
Right.
I remember a lot of things that I learned. Like it was pretty much successful. And through it all, for me, like basketball was like always a savior. Like I was a sports player, having the extracurricular basketball, the team to be on, even if it was like the shul team, just anything like that was always like a big motivator for me. Like you can't be on the team if you don't have an 85 average. You can't like, okay, then I have to.
Oh, interesting. Something that helped you stay motivated.
Oh, huge. I'm a big believer in that. Yeah. That was huge. Yeah, I don't, Baruch Hashem, I have kids of my own and they're not in a school that has teams. And it's I'm not gonna say it's a regret. Like that's just the path we've chosen. But to me, it's a big motivator. I mean, to me, like you can't be on this if you're not maintaining a certain average, So
what were the benefits of the playing itself?
It gets you through the school day. Like, okay, it's 1:00. I'm bored out of my mind in my English class, but I know there's practice tonight at 4:15,
Right.
And, developing bonds and just move the movement, is so like right now we're having this interview. I'm walking. Very hard for me to, stay stationary sometimes. So to me, movement is, I'll never forget and this is Rabbi, his name's, doesn't matter. He lives in Eretz Yisrael now, but he had the running and learning club where at lunchtime you'd go for a run and talk Torah. I'll never forget. Like that's so great. There's a 7th grade Rebbe where I live that and maybe I'm giving something up, but he meets with his 7th grade boys. They're invited optionally, wake up at like 5 a.m., meet him at his house on bikes at 5:30 I don't know if you've heard of this. They go biking and play volleyball on the beach. Like, and these kids are in his shir because they need to be in his shir, and like that stuff is awesome. You don't forget, to me, that's, movement. So the basketball thing was always huge, always played a major role and was a motivator. You can't be on unless you're doing X, Y, Z. So, okay, I don't have a choice, Right. And I don't remember either in high school, thank God, being like depressed, or anxious or anything like that. Like it was a pretty healthy time in my head,
Why do you think? That's great. Why do you think the shift was?
I mean, I got into some trouble, but I guess something the old voice thing may have just been less pressured. There's a lot of cheating going on. I mean, I'm not gonna say I cheated my way entirely through, but right. There was that. And thank God I was very, very blessed. I made good friends very quickly. Not something I could do now as an adult, but as an adolescent, like it just came so naturally. Like, wow, I'm like friends with the kids I wanted to be friends with. This was like, it was a real bracha. And I'm still friends with some of them, like I think that was key. I had a good chevra and I had the basketball and, and it was a good situation.
Right. Great. And what are the things that, I guess, looking back now, you wish someone had told you or the adults in your life sooner?
That yeshiva full-time going to Israel, that was like a huge situation. So I went to Israel. I was the only one in my high school that went to this yeshiva, the one that I went to. And it was probably like all of these other yeshivas, like it's learning, but I don't think I was made to sit and learn all day. And I guess I wish someone would have told me like, this place where all your friends are like my friends from where I grew up, like they were going to this place. And I wish someone told me like, you need some sort of hybrid situation where like maybe you're learning in the nights and a little bit in the mornings. And then the rest of the day you're doing work or chesed, something else. But that situation really, Yeah, I mean, that's like, let's say, call it the turning point, where I'm not going to say I knew something was wrong attention wise, but something was wrong. I have a great actually word about this. In my year in Israel, I wasn't able to feel the feeling of happiness. Only a few times I remember feeling it. One was skiing, and the other was a Shabbaton with my high school friends. Like the high school principal came, and we spent the Shabbos in the yeshiva, and like I remember feeling happy. But like I mamish could not feel the feeling of like feeling happy. You know, and you're reading books. I read Rabbi Torsky and Zelig Pliskin. The truth is, books are nice, but like, you know, there may have been a chemical thing. So I went twice to Rav Chaim Kanievsky. One time I didn't get in, and the second time I got in. And I'll tell you, I hope people if people only get one thing from this podcast from today, this is something they should get. I went to Rav Chaim Kanievsky and I just poured out and I said, I can't feel happiness. I can't feel it. And he said, Refuah Shalema. And I didn't understand it. And then when, later in life, and anytime I'm in doubt of whether I should be on medication, I think of Chaim Kanievsky, that there's something going on. And it's a refuah just like a sprained ankle. Is that great? That's great, right?
That's incredible. Incredible.
Right.
Yeah,
and what was in there for 2 minutes, and he said 2 words, but like it's such a chachma, like it's a refuah. You can't feel the human brain was supposed to be able to feel these things, reasonably, and if you're not, like then you're lacking dopamine or whatever it is.
Right.
So that was anyway, but that year was very difficult. So I guess I wish someone had told me go to a place that was better designed for your needs, which I didn't really know were my needs, but I guess maybe 6th grade was a red flag, and being in a high pressured, the yeshiva I went to was high pressured achievement. Like the more of a learner you were, the better you were, right? Like right. Everyone wanted to be the top learner. Everyone wanted to be in the base measures leader. Everyone wanted to, be the star in the eyes of the Rebbeim, and right. If you have any, youngest child syndrome, we always want to be liked. Always want to do what make people happy, So that was a major turning point. Yeshiva not being a very great feeling and experience. I wanted so bad for it to be good, I wanted right. It's going great. You always, and it just wasn't. I mean, in the end, I try to have a lot of emunah, and obviously I was there for a reason, and all those greater things, but it was very, very challenging. Yeah. So
I was going to say, so now you're in the rabbi business, so something must have gone well.
Yeah, something. Oh,
so tell the
right.
story.
No, so I had, so I had a good Rebbe that I was very close with. My life went on a bit of a roller coaster after that year in yeshiva. I was in YU for a year, and it was very hard. Oh, very hard there. And before I went to YU, I saw a neuropsychologist who in the end I just spent Pesach with. This is years ago. So a neuropsychologist, and it was determined that it was best for me not to take on, learning till 3, rather, maybe learn till 12 or 1, and not have a crazy English schedule, a little bit lighter,
right. Which means the morning ended at 3 p.m.? That's what we got?
And YU was till 1. I did till 1, BMP.
So what was till 3?
Meaning it was the option. Which track are you going to be in YU? Are you going to be in learning till 3? Okay. Are you going to be in learning till 1? And we determined that learning per young was going to be better. Yeah, I mean, after I did like all this testing in Muncie.
Right.
And that was when we determined, maybe something with the attention. And I wasn't prescribed anything or anything like that. But also like YU kind of was like a continuation of me for Israel. It was a little bit more of the same. Right. I was in, pressure to learn and pressure to do well and executive functioning. And it was hard. I just don't remember being happy there at all. So what did I do? Instead of dealing with it, the next year I went to Turo, because if something's not making you happy, what are you going to do? You're going to switch. This is like patterns, right? I mean, that's what you do. And so I was in Turo for a year and Chayashiv, and then that wasn't really working out. And just the pressure of learning and just there was not a lot of structure there. And the way Turo works is 2 nights a week, and my days were just way too open, and I think at that point I started seeing a psychiatrist. This is like, around 2004. My parents just noticed like something's just way off. You need to see like, a doctor. I saw a very well-respected one, Norman Lamb. He's very good. So if anyone needs, he's a very good psychiatrist. I saw him and he's very helpful. And then in the summer, I was in Turo, and in the summer I took one course in Queens College, and I'm like, something, this place fits my life a little more.
Okay.
So I was in Queens College, and once I was in Queens College, I made my schedule such that I was able to work at, different jobs, a law office, a foster home. And that was good. And I coached basketball again, so the more I was doing and varied, the better it was for me. Right. I was coaching basketball. I was working in this foster home, and I was working in a law firm and taking classes, a few classes. Perfect. Like that's great.
That was your sweet spot.
Yeah. Like more things I'm involved in. I'm doing the sports thing. So I'm getting that piece of me out, and, that was good. And then, another thing I realized in Queens College was good for me was summer school. And this is what I tell a lot of kids. I took as many courses as I could, and I was taking some medication to help me with the attention. I was taking Adderall. But it was so many, and it was so fast that there's not so much time to mess up. Like summer school is great. It's credits, one course in 4 to 6 weeks. So it's not a 4-month course. It's 6 weeks, and it's very intense. In you know what I mean? And I think I wrote this.
Turn to a daily grind. If I understand correctly.
You just do the daily grind, and there's a light right there at the end of the tunnel. It's so close. It's always right there. And I mean, in the summer, teachers are more relaxed anyway, but I just found myself I took 18 credits one summer. That's amazing. I couldn't do that in the winter or the spring. I do that in a summer schedule. So, and I was able to graduate, and then my parents, again, being, thank God, achievers and highly educated. Well, you got to pick something in grad school. You can't just stick with a psychology degree. So, I liked working in this foster home, and I was seeing a social worker at the time. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go to social work school, and I did the summer thing again, YU as a summer block program. So I did the summer block thing, and that was great for me. I did really well. It was like my grades were I called it school on steroids. I was getting A's. Like my report card was like report transcript, because I was helping, it was amazing. Like I'm good at writing. I can just talk. And that's all that social work school's about, is writing and talking,
Correct.
So I did really well.
Did you feel like that was just a better setup for you, or did you also learn skills for yourself along the way?
I learned skills 100%. Chewing gum in class helps me. Okay.
Oh, cool. Okay, that's good.
Chewing gum helps. Helps. Taking notes. Sitting in front if I can. Is better. Absolutely, you have to sit in front.
Right.
And taking notes, even if they are monotonous. But taking notes, it keeps me moving. I was at an orientation for a school the other day, and the guy next to me is like, "Why are you taking all these notes?" I'm like, "They want me to sit here for the next hour and a half. I have to write." Right. Like that. So those things work. On Shabbos, when I go to a 1-hour shiur, the rabbi, I make myself a cup of really hot water, and just put it on the table, and I just watch the smoke rise as I'm listening to the shiur, and then I drink the water. But I need something. You can't have a school like that, obviously. Right. But I'm just giving strategies for me when you have to sit through that helped me helping me. I'll tell you another thing. When it was time for me to graduate, and it took me a while to finish social work school. Most people finish in 2.5 years. It took me 5. Anyway. But one thing that worked, I couldn't get the paper is 35 pages, a thesis, right? And it was due before January 1st. Okay. I submitted it December 31st at 11:30 p.m. under the door, not even under the door of my teacher's apartment. The teacher was going to Florida the next day. I left it with the doorman. and daven that it gets through. But that's how we work. That's how we
Right.
work. Our last second.
Right.
This is the deadline. That's it. So, but I had a very hard time starting the essay, the thesis essay, whatever you call it, the graduating essay.
Right.
And my mom suggested a tutor. I'm like, I need a tutor at 20 something years old. Either way, I took the tutor. And what was great that she did was she said, like, just do 5 pages by this Thursday. Pick a topic. But yeah, and like that made it work. Like small steps. Let's just do this. You know what I mean? Like, and that changed it. I mean, I'm not writing 30 pages. I'm writing 5 by Thursday. That's manageable. So I think that's also a major key. Make it manageable, small manageable steps rather than looking at it as this large project,
Yeah.
And then what happened? Right after I graduated, got engaged, got married, planned on living in Israel, didn't work out, and ended up working in this foster home situation. Basically my social work never developed into like a private practice thing. I was working in healthcare, basically.
Okay.
Called professional biker cholim in a way. But as I was doing visiting elderly, it wasn't intensive therapy. It was much more, coordination, Medicaid, that type of thing, food stamps,
Right.
And, but I was looking for something else. I ended up working part-time as like a social worker in a school. I was doing part-time work as a social worker school, and it was a Chabad school. I was placed, and I'm like, this is it. I'm in heaven. Like, you kidding me? This breakfast on Rosh Chodesh, this is amazing. Like the Jewish, just being in a Yiddish environment again, like rather than working in like the public sector, was like, this is just where I want to be.
Right.
I was looking for a school social worker full-time job, and my alma mater where I went was looking for a phys ed teacher. I'm like, phys ed, let me find out about that. I love sports.
Right.
And that school, the salary was like what social workers are making. So like, this is a good deal. So I went there. As I was there, someone's like, you're really good with these kids. Why don't you help run the davening? For Ashkenaz kids. I'm like, okay, we can do that. And I really fell in love with that piece, with the Limud Kodesh piece. I did a online smicha program that was very good for me also. The way it was condensed. And how did I get through that? So there were 2 nights a week. Very hard for me to just sit in front of the, on the Zoom.
Right.
But I did. But what else I did was during work, I'd play a recording of the class and record it on my phone. And then while taking walks or driving, while in motion, I would listen to the shir again,
Right.
And that was very helpful. And then when it was time for the test, you bear down small steps again. Okay, I'm not going to do all 30 questions now. And each question was like an essay. Let me do 1 or 2 questions today and let me get through that. And, I would say that. And then also I was probably last second with it also, like deadline. So, but at that time, once I wasn't really doing school anymore, I wasn't like actively taking the medication because I was phys ed, which is perfect for me. I'm always moving.
Right.
But then an opening came up as a Rebbe somewhere where I lived, and like I really wanted to try that, and
Right.
and I mean now I'm learning that classroom is just a very different animal.
Right. How long ago was this?
2 years ago. So I've been a Rebbe in middle school for 2 years now. Mostly 7th grade.
Right.
And I know clearly what my strengths. Very interesting situation. So I teach basically 2 major classes that I have every day, and around those regular classes, I also do pullouts like one-on-one. The best thing I did that I'm like proud of. So one of the things that happened when I moved to a new community, I told the gabbis in my shul, like, if you need someone to lane, once in a while, let me know, and I'd be happy to help. And he said to me, oh, this week Hashkama could use someone. I'm like, it's it's this week. He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'll try. And then the next week and the next week. And what if I like memorization? So laning work. So I can sit without any medication and sit and look at laning. like from a tikkun, for
Right.
2.5 hours without getting up.
So interesting. How does that like hit you as a discovery?
I'll tell you, it's a great. Are you ready for this? It's a good story.
Right.
A friend of mine in Parshas Vayakel Pekudei about 7 years ago said to me, "My shul's looking for someone to lane." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Vayakel Pekudei is huge. I'm not, equipped to do that. I mean, I'd lane here and there for my bar mitzvah. I worked on Shabbos. I would work in a nursing home sometimes and lane there, but like, wasn't like very serious. And so I got a message to the rabbi. I told the rabbi of this shul, it's a very long parsha. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it. He's like, I'm really desperate. I said, let me know on Tuesday. So he says, okay, Tuesday, call Tuesday come. He's like, I'm desperate. I need you. I'm like, okay. I take off of work on Thursday, Vayakel Pekudei all day long. Like that is my focus. I get to the shul. I bombed that laning so bad. It was a train wreck. Pekudei is the end of the parsha. My friend comes over to me afterwards. He goes, the only thing you got right was chazak, chazak, benis chazek. Everything else is a disaster. But so I said to him, so he hadn't called me back. I was supposed to get paid. Like, the rabbi's not calling me back.
Right.
And finally he calls me back and he's like, well, what he says to me, what happened? I'm like, well, you gave me 2 days for Vayakel Pekudei. You ended up paying me anyway. But I said, Rabbi, I'll tell you what, why don't I lane in a few weeks? It's Parsha so-and-so. It's my bar mitzvah Parsha. I'll lane that for you for free. You don't even have to pay me. It's a freebie. He goes, no, I don't need that one, but I could use you ki teisei. I'm like, oh God, okay. I don't know that at all. But once I started studying for that, that I realized like, okay, this is how I can do this. And then, so my wife has hearing loss. So every year, like reading Megillah was always an issue because she needs a private Megillah reading. She's not gonna be able to hear it if she's in a shul. And finally she said, why don't you just learn it already? So I said, tell you what, invite people from the block and tell them I'm gonna lane Megillah. And I started Hanukkah and I finished on Purim and I've been laning Megillah for 6-7 years now. And that's when I realized like I can just sit and Kitetse and Megillah, that's what I would say. Those and Baruch Hashem, I've laned all 54 parshas.
Amazing.
When I did it. Yeah, it's really it's one of my I'm very proud about it. When I go up to Shemayim, I'm very excited about that one. And I lane most weeks. And when we're going back with middle school, so what we did was we created a situation where after davening, if the kids learn a little bit, they get snacks, breakfast, yoo-hoos, that type of thing. So my section, and it's all 7th graders, we sit and practice laning and they love it. And thank God, whereas last year, either a rabbi laned in school or one kid was really good. Now this year we have just like guys just splitting up aliyahs and guys want to do it. So I'm not great in the classroom, but like these informal things like teaching laning to a few guys and guys who want to do it, like it's really been like a success.
What part of laning do you think catches your attention so well?
Now it's patterns, right? So there's a familiarity. And listen, Torah was a niknas elu b'simanim. Is it the word? It's a pasuk, right? It's based on a pasuk at the end of Vayelach, I think. It has the pasuk of most things. I think just the sing song of it, and the sing song part of it, and the memorization. I think once you hear something in a song, it's just that's life, right? You don't forget it. You can name getting from Bracious all the way to Zosa Bracha if you have a song for it. I do a thing, you get me extra credit. I could do all the 63 Mishnayos if you have a song for it. You just don't forget songs. So I think that
so music and memorization both speak to your brain.
Music and memorization, absolutely 100%. Yeah, and I've always liked Chumash. I've always liked Rashi. So all that stuff. I mean, this past week I tried laning. Zachar. This past week was a Baloska. So I tried being fancy and learning the Haftorah from a klaf, but it was a disaster. Tafas the Maruba. It's good enough if I can know the regular parsha. It took out too much. But that'll be the next project one day. Yeah, I think the memorization and the singing part is good for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. What do you feel like what are the strengths you brought into teaching?
Sports.
Right.
The kids who are ball players relate to me, and I can relate to them. And unfortunately, I get along with kids better than I do adults. Uh, so I get along with them well. I hawk around with them well. Sometimes too much. Like there's a line that the kids cross if you give them that. I'm not. There's one Rebbe who they won't mess with. He's an older guy, older Rebbe, and he's a great Rebbe. They say he's like he's like he's got the Jedi mind. Whatever he has a control over these kids. Like give them the hardest kids and the last period of the day, and they will sit. The strength is much more like trying to come up with the experiential things if I can. One of the better things we did was on Sukkot. Right before Sukkot, I bought magnifying glasses, took them to the Judaica store, and we magnified glasses with the Estrogos. Like that was awesome.
That's great.
Anything like that. I need to come up with more of them, but anything like that where it's experiential, that's bread and butter.
I think I love that.
Yeah, and obviously, and I think one of the reasons I was hired is this like dual sport personality guy that the kids could relate to and talk about the Knicks the next day and talking about, those types of things. I guess it's a fad, not a fad, but like, I don't remember having that so much. And now that's a little bit more established. Like, the Rebbe's also like sort of a friend, and there's a blurry line a little bit. So
better Knicks to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. I let them hawk around at the beginning, so, and so I think the personal connections I make with them, there's a kid, my best students are the ones I didn't have in a classroom. I'm in touch with a couple like students I'm very, very close with. I'll say like to the parents, I never had this kid in the class, but like we're very, very close.
I was funny how you know them. Or what's
the contact? I know because like I have them for like I teach a few periods of gym a day or something like that. So that's how I know them, and then they know I do the laning thing. So yeah, those kids, maybe they'll sit with me with laning, or maybe I'll spend extra time with them walking through the hallways. We'll be shooting around and doing like the beginning of Bahar, because that's what the kid wants to practice. But like we both need to move, and that part, I'd say that the personal connection part, smaller group.
Right. What else did you, I guess, draw upon from your own personal experience toward teaching?
That's a good question. For me, my own experience growing up a little bit. I mean, when I see kids that are, I don't give a lot of homework.
Right.
I don't overburden them. I'm very, mindful that I don't want them to leave with a bad taste. I was in one class in college where it was YU, so I took a Torah class, and I worked so hard in this class, and I didn't do well on the test, and I got a bad grade. And I was like, what? I was so upset. I never want to have a kid have that type of feeling that either he worked hard or just did a Torah class and walk away negative. You know what I mean? Like some kids have that already. I have kids in my class who they see Hebrew. I'm like, I have to give a final. They see the Hebrew language, and already like their mind is, they checked out. Like,
okay.
And I try very hard. Yeah, for whatever reason. For whatever reason, that's just like where their head is. There's Hebrew, blah, 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 like forget it. So what works is raffles work for me, things like that. Or we do a spin wheel and we delete each name. Like that was very popular during Zoom days. You could share the screen and do a Zoom wheel. You do a spin wheel on a raffle. So that stuff, the last 5 minutes of class, the kids get into it. And, the better you do in class, the more I add your name on. That type of thing works. I mean, food. Yeah. Like you did well. Like, I'm throwing out candy left and right. Like it's, like you'd say like the aquarium, but that works. But there was a kid ready for this. There's a kid. He's definitely, he knows he has ADHD. We talk openly about it. And this kid was taking a test and he goes, I remember this because I was eating Airheads while we learned it. So he remembered the taste of watermelon green. I remember this. He's like, oh, we were learning this and I was eating a green watermelon, and he got the answer right because he associated it with this. It's not, I know. And he was so excited by knowing it. And like, it was awesome. Yeah. So, I don't know if I'm drawing that from my own experiences, but,
sounds like the high pressure that you went through. You've learned not to impose on people.
Yeah, I guess so.
Not comfortable with it.
That's a good way. Sure. Yeah, there was a second question you had, by the way. It was double. Yeah, and I like the second.
What are the other ADHD
Right.
strengths you see yourself having? Yeah.
So it's funny. I was just reading a book. There's a book, a Feldheim book called "Welcome to Fifth Grade" by Rabbi Yitzi Ross. And the first line in the acknowledgments, he says he thanks his Hashem for his gift of ADHD. Okay, that's what he says. Yeah, great line. And he's a very, very, very talented Rebbe. And he plays instruments, and his family plays instruments. So I think the strength is that you can be involved in like so many. It's almost like the more things, I think Lubavitcher Rebbe says, like when you think you can't take on more, take on something else.
Right.
So I think I think it enables me to be involved in like a bunch of things simultaneously. And as long as, I work here, then I'm tutoring, I got, a bunch of other jobs. I think that would be a strength.
Right.
That I think you thrive on taking on projects that, you're noticing other people are doing. So you do them.
Right. Do you feel like your own ADHD helps you understand the guys better? Your students with ADHD?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for these kids, man. There was a line in a sefer that the world is a licht to them. The world is lit up for them. So you're giving them. It's hard to compete with. So the more lifting you can make a lesson and more relatable, the better it is. It's funny. There's a big machlokas. I think in education in general, you mentioned it. Do you take I have two classes, right? I have my major classes is Navi and Chumash. In Navi class, it's mixed. I have A kids, like kids that are going to go on to serious learning, and you have kids that can't sit through a class.
Right.
And then I have another in the same room, and I have another class where it's everybody who just can't sit through a class. And the first class is actually, when we're learning, it's actually a little easier because sometimes I just ask those kids to leave and we can have something. Right. But B, I could split them into groups. Like my best lessons is when I'm a Shalom Meshiv and I give out handouts and say, okay, group 1, group 2, I make the best kids in the class the captains of those groups. And I make the kids who can't sit, they're the writers or something like that. And everyone's got a little role. And at the end, we wrap it up. When we're doing that, I put music on. Start the class. Yeah, like it's a lively situation, Lebedik. And one teacher walked in, it's like, wow, Lebedik in here. I'm like, yeah, that's the idea. That's to me like
2 home runs, by the way. Two home runs there. Number one, giving everybody a job. Everybody a job.
That's them. Key. Right.
And then the music.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny. There was a kid who wanted to keep an AirPod in his ear. And I really, really struggled with whether to let him do it. He's like, I'm just going to sit in the lesson. I'm not going to disturb you, but I need to have this AirPod and play music. It was a trick. It was a dicey situation because if I say yes to him, then it's yes to everyone. So I didn't allow it, but I hear where he's coming from. It's like, I totally understand. And I think I'm not to quote, but I'm pretty sure Beryl Wine says when he learns, he has Beethoven in the background. I don't want to misquote, but it's not uncommon to have something in the background when you're studying or learning. So I didn't let him because I just think it's a bad look.
Right.
But the music thing's big. Music in the background is big. I let the kid, sometimes in the middle of class, this one kid wants to sing. I said, okay, so pick a different song. Don't sing Kanye. Sing, let's sing something else and let's get into it. You're making kumsitz.
What do you want other educators to know about ADHD? These kids need to move around. Very hard to just sit. It's very hard to just sit and stay in one spot and just soak in information. And the more those kids can do that are hands-on, the better. I had a kid at the beginning of the year, and he's definitely one of my harder learners. And he started imitating a debate between Trump and Kamala Harris, right? And the kid was hysterical. And instead of going against it, I'm like, at the end of class, 5 minutes of class, if you learn Stark, we'll go, come up to the front and you could do all your imitations.
And the kid was awesome. And I thought it was awesome. Oh, it was the kid. I'll never forget the kid and the kid was great, and there's a kid who like really doesn't like learning. So right now, yeah. And we, as a teacher, we have to find what works for them. And it's amazing. The one thing that works for them, the bar mitzvah works for them. It's unbelievable. These kids who are every A, D, or letter on the spectrum, I have a kid, the big kid barely read Hebrew, but he's learning the entire A. Like, that's hard,
Right.
Yeah. He literally cannot say brachas in the morning, but like he's knowing A because there's a lot of things involved with that. I was at a teacher's conference about this because you're performing, right? When there's performance involved, I'm not good with that. Like, I didn't make any projects that the kids have to now do a presentation of Perek Vav in Shmuel. Like, I didn't do that. Maybe I should have, because that's a really good thing. But when there's a pressure on them to perform, there's something there. And that's why I like what being bar mitzvah thing so powerful and talking and using their bar mitzvah parshas to learn and things like that. Like that's the uniqueness of the grade I'm working with, because it's such a momentous thing for them and meeting them where they are, I guess, right?
Right.
That's important. No, I would say also, like, I think what works sometimes is like short stints. Like, if you tell them, listen, from 3:02 till, and I think I heard one of your other, Rebbeim say this, you put a timer on the board, guys, let's make 10 minutes and then we can XYZ, when it's manageable steps, right? For 12 minutes, we're going to be doing this, that, and the other. And then we get that, and I know my principal doesn't want me going to the gym every single day, but like, with that class, that it's an entire room full of guys. It's not their thing to be sitting and learning all day.
Right.
We got to do what we got to do.
Right. Excellent. As we start to wrap up, what's a message of hope you want to leave our listeners with?
Okay, I heard a very, very unique shir from Rabbi on Torah Anytime from Rabbi Joey Haber, and it sticks with me, and I try to keep it in mind. Let's say you had an uncle, you had a rich uncle who passed away, and he left over his estate in the hand of a lawyer. But it says that this estate needs to go to my nieces and nephews. Now, does that lawyer have any right to keep it for himself? No, it belongs to his nieces and nephews. Everyone's got to get a share of this. So I heard a nice idea from Rabbi Haber that so too is the Torah we're teaching. If you're in that field, like, it's theirs, it's their heritage, it's an achal, it's theirs. And you can't forget that when you're having a hard time and dealing and teaching them. It's very hard sometimes, but it's theirs. And like, you have to remind yourself that, like, you can't just like deny them that because they don't learn the same way that all the other kids do. You have to figure out what's going to work. One is that if you see with Moshe Rabbeinu, who's always telling Yehoshua, and even Hashem's always telling Yehoshua, chazak v'yamatz, comes up like all the time. Anytime you hear Yehoshua, coming up to this week's parsha. And like, why is that? And I heard the Vilna Gaon say, because when you're a teacher, sometimes you come home and be like, I can't do this anymore. They're killing me. Very difficult. I'm not doing this anymore. And you go home and you have to realize that chazak v'yamatz. No, you got to be strong. And you wake up and do it again tomorrow. And you try. And you keep trying. He's a message of not giving up. Yeah, I think those are the main things.
Okay, anything else you want to share today?
I think it's very important, whatever you're learning, that to find something you enjoy learning. I have a love-hate relationship with Daf Yomi.
Right.
It's great. And I actually led a Daf Yomi because Gemara has never been my strength. I like memorization. I don't like sitting and logicking something out in the brisker way. Is not me, So I don't like really enjoy that so much, but I do enjoy like slow and steady. Like, let me take on a perek and brachos and know it. So again, for learning, I think it's very important that people find what they like and do that. I think that's really important. It has to be liked. It has to taste good, So that's what I would say.
Excellent. Okay, Rabbi Daniel Block. Thanks so much. It's been a great conversation, a great story.
I hope it was informative. I really hope I helped someone else. I just want to let you know, like, I take a lot from the podcast you have. I usually take a few nuggets from each of yours and like really try to apply it. So I appreciate your forum very much.
Thank you again for listening to this episode of the ADHD Heroes podcast. For questions about the podcast, you can email us at adhdheroespodcast@gmail.com. Also, for sponsorships or to share your story, your ADHD story, you can also email us at the same place, adhdheroespodcast@gmail.com. To be in touch with me about ADHD coaching, writing, or speaking engagements, you can email me at rsreichadhdcoach@gmail.com. Be sure to check out my website, rsreich.com, adhdcoach.com. You can follow me on LinkedIn, or you can check out my blog on nefesh.org. Check out my blog there under my name. Important disclaimer: podcasts are great, but they do not take the place of mental health help or medical help. So if you need help with mental health or need a doctor, be sure to be in contact with some of them. Please, if you like this show, please rate, review, and share with a friend. That's how these things get out there. Thank you again for listening, and thank you to our producers at Pretty Easy Podcasts.